The other day I said, we're recording. We're alive now. We're not alive, we're
No,
recording. But the
what?
other day, the other day I said, hey, I have a vodcast slash podcast, but it's a video. I was like, it's me and my friend Sil, and we talk
Mhm.
about stuff. And they're like, oh, what's it called? And I was like, Sil and Show talk about stuff.
And they're
So
like, wow, no way.
so
So
welcome
I'm
to
Phil.
Sil and yeah, I'm Shown.
Yeah,
Welcome to Sil and
that's
Shown talk about stuff.
that one. Yeah, welcome. Probably shouldn't be touching my eyeball so much. I wore makeup for the first time in a long time today because I
Fun.
completed all my tasks before 1 o'clock. And I was like, well, I already took my anti-anxiety meds, so I was like, what the fuck do I do right now?
Makeup.
Yeah. But now I'm like, I love to touch my face, my eyeballs especially, but I can't. But I can't right now.
I love makeup. I actually puberty happened there I think for a second, but I I interviewed with a beauty school, with an esthetician school recently.
Hmm.
And it was very cool because first of all, I think people should like interview with things they're interested in all the time. Like people make time for you, they're gonna like give you a bunch of information. I like learned so much about the beauty school and like beauty whatever. And I am undecided if I'm going to do that, but it is a very interesting skill that's kind of transferable to a lot of states and countries, and that interests me. Plus, skin interests me.
Hmm.
But something that maybe is something we could talk about, or just something that I thought of, is like that I feel like I've oscillated back and forth throughout my life between choosing, thinking that I had to choose between beauty and boy, basically. And
Yeah.
then I got older and was like, oh, you know what? Like, you don't have to make that kind of choice. Like, you can
Yeah.
be both. Like, you can be all. Like, yeah. I don't really have anything to say about that. I just wanted to. There's nothing. There's no real. I don't know if there's like a discussion there. I'm not saying we should talk about this as our topic today, but makeup
I
is for
mean,
everyone. That's all.
yeah, that's valid. Yes, I had that thought as I put on makeup today. I was like, yes, I'm wearing this just to prove that makeup is for boys also,
Yes.
I guess. But like, yeah, makeup is honestly just for people who have the patience for makeup, which really is not me. Like, just eyeshadow, and like a little bit of eyeliner on the bottom corner because it was green and shiny. Mascara. That's it. That's like that's all the makeup I'll ever do. Also, sometimes like I'll wear chapstick. Sometimes.
Is chapstick makeup? I mean, chapstick feels like skincare. Chapstick feels like
Yes,
skincare.
that feels accurate.
Maybe I'll
Are
put on
you
some makeup.
doing your skincare routine right now?
I thought well, you inspired me now, so now I'm thinking maybe I should.
I don't have a skincare routine. I barely wash my face.
I like am going through puberty, and so I like have acne. I have like really severe acne right now. It's not on my face. It's on like my back and my shoulders.
Mhm.
I like have to use like medical blah blah for this.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really painful. Like I had it before, um, and I don't remember if it was this bad or not. I can't really remember.
Mhm.
I think it was not this bad, but it was pretty bad. Um, but I like was kind of told that I didn't have acne. I was told I didn't have acne. So I was like, okay, this must not be acne.
Well.
But it's actually like really painful. Like yeah, it's like it's painful to like exercise and like wear clothing, and it's painful to like sweat. It's painful to like sit down. I don't know. It's like painful to do a lot of things. And I was like, wow, acne's like really painful actually.
Yeah.
I had no
Yeah,
idea.
that sounds rough.
Yeah, that's why it's a medical condition, I guess.
Oh, my back hurts.
Oh yeah.
Yes. But I don't know why. I've been told that like moving around and walking and doing things should help, but it's hard to do that when you have nothing to do and you don't want to go out because Northampton is a terrible place to walk around.
Yeah. I don't know.
So if I walk around a lot, it's because my back hurts and I'm trying to make it better. So what are we talking about today? Do we
What are we
have
talking about today?
a topic, or are we actually just talking this time?
Dude, good question. Are we ever just talking, or
No.
are we only ever talking?
We certainly are always saying something.
We're certainly talking about stuff. We're
Yeah.
certainly saying things. I don't know if I like the beauty industry totally, but I like beauty as a concept, meaning to me, like, beauty is like the choice of choosing how you want to look. That's why to me, like, I don't think I distinguish between like surgery versus like makeup versus like even like hormone replacement therapy to me is like a type of beauty. Beauty feels to me just like aligning with making the out using the outside to kind of like reflect the inside or just like be able to yeah, kind of express, but I don't know. Feeling beautiful is like really important to me. And like not beautiful as in like in an industry culturally understood like, only this is beautiful.
Mm.
But like not beautiful as in like conforming beauty, but beauty as in like mm, I don't know, modifying appearance or what you wear or how you look or whatever to what you want. I don't know.
Yeah, I've never really thought about it because I usually don't indulge in appearance.
Yeah.
Yet I certainly have like an aesthetic. Like I'm very like on brand and I have a style,
Yes.
but that style is not necessarily beauty or fashion.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel like I would still qualify that as like a type of yeah, it's not beauty, but I feel like I would put it in my brain as beauty.
I
Aesthetic.
mean, like, it's not that I don't feel beautiful, but I wouldn't, like, I personally, like, I think humans can look nice and are attractive, but, like, I often see beauty in non human things. Like, there are humans who can be beautiful, I guess, but, like,
Um,
I'm more likely to be like, they're very pretty, or, like, straight, like, X, whatever. But, like, if I'm like, wow, that's really beautiful, it's like the clouds, or, like, the day. Or something like that.
I'm chewing.
Okay.
I'm
I
chewing
can.
on that thought.
But also like yeah, beauty is what you wear, I guess. To reflect the inside? Question mark. Is that like the requirement?
Hmm. Because I do think you can wear stuff that's not like a physical outside of you thing. Like you can
Right.
also wear like confidence. I feel
Mm,
like that's very beautiful. You can wear like a trust in yourself.
mm,
And I feel like that's also very beautiful. But both of those, I think, like something that's similar between both of those and then like makeup or clothing or whatever is that they're choices that you're making.
yeah.
Like I'm choosing to be confident or have trust, or I'm choosing to be XYZ, or I'm choosing, this color of like eye, whatever, or something.
Mhm.
I don't think I really want to wear an eye today, though. I really like muted colors. I really like makeup that doesn't look like makeup. Like, do
Mhm.
I look any different? I don't know, but I definitely put on makeup, but it's not obvious. I really like that. Personally,
Mhm.
that's like I think that's like a personal style.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I definitely feel the opposite. I feel like
Yeah.
why wear makeup if it's not like really obvious? I really like Afro funk style face and eye makeup because it just like is. It just seems fun. I like something that seems fun and that you're actually using the stuff that you buy. Because the other thing is like the beauty industry makes investing in beauty or feeling beautiful very expensive. So like if you're going to invest all that money, I don't know, you better use it. But I also don't know anything about makeup, so like obviously you don't have to buy, I guess, what you're not going to use.
Oh, I know, right? Because
But like, how do you know?
I feel like you have to like buy stuff and try it out in order to like really understand it. Because to
Mm-hmm.
me, but I think that more reflects on my own value system. Like, I don't value looking on the internet, finding a bunch of information and like packaged knowledge that appears factual, memorizing it, and then that being the end of your like intellectual investigation, or like, now you're smart. I'm like not interested in that type of knowledge. I'm interested in
Mm-hmm.
like experiential knowledge. Like when I use products that have these ingredients in it, they come off like this depending on if my skin is drier or if it's like in like a breaking out susceptible like place, or like blah 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 whatever. But that requires like going out and buying makeup, and like sometimes there's so many ingredients in each of the stuff. I mean, I think it's a lot easier to see the ingredients now than it has probably ever been, to like actually know what you're using. But
Mm-hmm.
things have so many ingredients, it can be really hard to like do an experiment to be like, is this is this ingredient what's working for me, or is it one of the like 50 other ones in this product that's actually like working for me? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is that like hard? Because I know with some products, especially like with people with acne products, there will be like a lot of because people are really into like organic, natural skin and hair, like whatever stuff. But
Yeah.
I know that a lot of medical things have so many chemicals in them because it's like medicine.
Yeah, like my acne cream, oh my God, that I got from a doctor
Mm-hmm.
smells like alcohol. Like, I do not think that is good for your skin.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I've ever seen these ingredients like advertised in like beauty. I think there's,
Right.
oh my God, I think there's, I'm like trying to open it, but I've squeezed it so hard. It's like really hard to like read the ingredients. Oh yeah, it does contain alcohol and cellulose. But I do think that there's like contention between medical fields of skin and beauty. Like there's like some crossover. Like when I was interviewing with the aesthetic school, or it's a school in cosmetology within the aesthetics program,
Mm-hmm.
like there is plenty of science. Like you do learn about the chemistry of like you learn about the biology of the skin and the chemistry of ingredients. Because when you're talking about beauty products, you're kind of talking about chemistry, I think.
Yeah.
I can't really speak to it, but it seems like chemicals, like you're kind of talking about chemical interactions and stuff like that on the landscape of the skin.
Mm-hmm.
But I also understand that, yeah, there's some kind of contention because like I don't really know what it is. Is it like just the framework of like the way that medicine views aesthetics, or is it, yeah? Because I feel like the beauty people who are invested in beauty are like, we've got medical treatments for things like acne, but some of them can be really harsh, or they're not really going into the nuance of it. They're more just like, try this and like slap it on and like hopefully it'll
Hmm.
work. Whereas I think the beauty aspect of it is like, what are other ways we can go about this? But then the industry kind of takes that and then like popularizes it, which is also like another weird thing. It's weird to have beauty trends. To me, it's like weird to have beauty trends sometimes. Like when it comes to like skincare or whatever, it's
Yeah.
like this new amazing blah 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 whatever that's gonna like make things better. And I'm like, why is there always something new and amazing? Like to me, there's a difference between like the marketing industry type of aspect of it, and then the
Yeah.
like investigative, explorative, like what does this work? How does this work for me? That kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, where it's like there's a difference between like trying things as they come out and just trying things and finding what works for you. Because also, like, as with trends, usually there's people who have been doing it way before and will continue doing it way after it's a trend. So, like, it's already out there. That's how it became a trend.
It also makes me think of like,
Those are sticking together.
oh, I like can't wear mascara. It's like one of those things that like I will just pluck my eyelashes out, but
I I can wear it. It's just that my eyelashes have. I don't want to be like my eyelashes fall out, but like I happen to shed eyelashes, like I guess like a little bit more than some people do, because I really often will get when I put on mascara, I will accidentally like flick an eyelash in the direction of my eyeball, but then it like sticks that way. So it's like
yeah.
stuck together, but it's like tickling my eye, and I can't. I'm like trying to get it to stop, but it just keeps sticking.
Oh my God.
It's all good.
Thinking about trends though, first of
Mm-hmm.
all, I hope your eyelash situation
Oh,
gets
it's
figured
fine.
out. I
All
feel like the
good.
purple and the yellow, they're like what? They're like opposites or whatever. I think they go really nice.
Yeah, something.
The,
What is that about the color wheel? I always hated that, but I acknowledge it now. The fact that like blue and orange go together, and like yellow and purple, or like purple and orange, and stuff like that. Green and purple. No, that
well,
makes more sense because they're both cool colors. But
well, I think they can have different warmths and stuff like that. For instance, I'm pretty sure orange is not my color. Like I'm pretty sure it's doing a weird thing to my skin right now because I think I have
mm-hmm.
more pink undertones. Like this is way more in my color, my color palette.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it goes to my skin more, you know. When I
I
have this
can't. I
orange on,
really can't tell the difference.
I've been getting really interested in color because of the like because of okay, so like in classical Chinese medicine, you can read the undertones of someone's skin,
Mm-hmm.
not the color, but the undertone.
Right,
As
like how you
as
have a green undertone if you're like sick.
yeah, yeah,
That's like
totally.
whatever. You're like green, turning green.
Yeah, or like when you're afraid and like all the blood drains from your face and there's that
Mm.
kind of like that feeling, whatever that feeling of color is, you know? And so those things can kind of indicate like someone's constitution or someone's pathology, which are pretty similar. I mean, okay, good. What I'm, you got to be careful about that kind of thing because you could be like pathologizing something when it's really just the way someone is. I think you got to be careful about
Mm.
that. But I've been really interested in like, wow, what are the undertones of people's faces in like a beauty way? Like, do you run cooler or warmer or like deeper or softer or whatever? And like, does that have anything to do with like, elemental hues of the face? I've been pretty fascinated in that. Oh, but I don't know why I went on this rant. I was actually going to say, did the fads make me think of, or, it's
Oh
definitely
my
a Sunday,
god.
a Sunday
Oh my
thing.
god.
Oh my God.
We're stronger. We're Jay Z times two. Double stronger than Jay Z. Uh,
I'm thinking
why
about,
couldn't I make those words come out of my mouth? Okay, now you got me thinking about this. Anyway,
um, it makes me think of fat. Ooh, this is like a P. This is like a Greek situation happening now.
a bolo tie. Okay, side topic. Whoever invented the bolo tie, I think definitely just like did this with their hoodie strings and was like, yeah, I could wear this as a tie. Put a little buckle on it. Hell yeah, bro.
It's like a chromosome.
I don't know enough science to confirm or deny that.
It totally is. Um, yes. What was I saying? Something about fads. Okay, it makes me think of food fads. Like the United States loves food fads. I think because
Which is
people,
so dumb.
yes, I could probably rant about that. Like my my understanding from like for instance from a Chinese medical perspective is that disordered eating would be like healthy or whatever, which doesn't mean health, it just means like in right timing, would
Mm-hmm.
be eating at regular times of the day per the season, eating because you're hungry,
Mm-hmm.
uh, eating until you're full, and probably eating what's like seasonally appropriate or appropriate for the season of your body. Do you know what I mean? Like what your
Right.
body requires. But I feel like no one. I feel like like a lot. This is not common practice. Like for instance, like I don't experience hunger. I don't really experience hunger. I just kind of experience a want to consume, to eat.
Mm.
People do not eat at regular times. You know what I mean? And I mean regular times for them, but also regular times like every day, like 7 a.m. is like a nice time to eat or whatever. Um, and I feel like fads just like kind of come about as this way to um like covertly engage with disordered eating habits.
Hmm. Like
Like,
yes, but explain. I
sure.
see. I feel you, but it's like a light caress.
Okay. I feel you, but it's like
Like
it's
yeah,
not like
yeah,
it's not like
yeah,
I feel you.
yeah,
It's like a
yeah.
I
It's like when you
feel
go to
you.
shake hands and someone starts to grab your hand like that, but we're going in for the full handshake. Get
Okay.
me there.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay, okay. Let me like bring you in. Let me give you like a
yeah.
handshake like oh, but it's actually a hug. Um okay, so I think about a couple of things. So I think about like okay, so like in high school, it became very popular in the people I was hanging out with to like engage with veganism. And there's this part of veganism where when you're vegan, you can be like, "Oh my God, I'm doing this for environmental reasons. I'm doing this for animal rights, blah blah, whatever. I'm doing this because I'm a good person." Do you know what I mean? There's a quality of like of engaging with disordered, not just of engaging with with eating habits. That's kind of
Mm-hmm.
about painting yourself as a good person.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other thing that's happening is that then by being vegan, it's like, oh my God, I get to deny myself food. I get to say, oh no, thank you for this free food. Oh no, thank you. I can't eat that because I'm vegan. And the excuse or the justification or the reason behind it can
Mm-hmm.
be, I'm a good person. And so there's this weird way that like if there's underlying like disordered eating habits, you can
Mm-hmm.
take veganism and operate
Okay.
under this guise of veganism, while
Yes,
that
agreed.
label is like supporting denying food,
Yeah.
but you don't even have to engage with the fact that it's disordered because you can just live in the existence of you being a good person who cares about animals and the environment or like whatever.
That I feel like that requires a base, like a foundational thing of disordered eating,
Yes.
as opposed to like veganism promoting disordered eating. Like I
I
felt like fat. There are some fad diets where it was like promoted to like not, and I don't mean like intermittent fasting or whatever, but they were like, yeah, just like eat as little as possible because like you need like a calorie defect or whatever, and then just like do way more exercise than you like ever would think to do, and just like do that until you pass out. or like whatever happens. Like there was no like, if you have a body type like this, here's what might work for you, or like here's how this is going to work. Like here's how you calculate how many calories you need to you do that. Like, so there is like, I totally get what you mean, but that there's like that it comes with a mindset that already exists, as opposed to, because I know a lot of vegans who like definitely feel superior for being a vegan and totally talk of like, don't you care about the animals, and like, I'm so healthy, like I've lost, like they love to be like, I lost all this weight, like going vegan or doing keto or like whatever, and I'm like, that's really cool for you, but I don't care about losing weight. Sorry to like burst your fat phobic bubble, but like, I'm fine being fat. It's okay. um, but yes, I feel you now. We are in the bro hug. I get you.
Okay,
Yes.
it's a
Yes.
little closer now.
Connected. We connected. Um,
Yeah, this
yeah,
idea
no,
of
I felt that
weight.
way
Hmm.
as well about the raw food fad. That certainly felt like that felt like a lot of elitist white nonsense, because not only was it just like, why, like, first of all, where did it come from? I would like to know, because it just sort of, to me, it just appeared. I like don't understand how it started really, but what, there's nothing wrong with cooking your food. Like, I don't know why that people were trying to be like, it's better just to eat your food raw. um but they would also eat wildly out of season. There are people who are like, I'm on a raw food diet, so I am just gonna like order in all my tropical fruit and like all my raw blah blah and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, well, you're shipping that in from place like that's not local or in season, and like you're probably buying it from conventional farms, so like they're treating their workers like shit. And now that this is a like fad, it's a trend, they're working 2, 3, 5 times as hard to supply you, white America, with your trendy food. Like, that's embarrassing. I don't know. I'd be pretty embarrassed if I invested a lot of time in that, when you could just start a fucking garden, like find a local farm. And also, like, if you can't, to at least like go to the grocery store and buy some things you can cook or eat. Like, I don't I don't get it.
I feel like I kind of understand. Well, like I definitely have disordered eating patterns and habits, and like I think like also gender comes up with that as well. Like times when I am really upset. Well, I also just can't really like see my body as it really exists. Like I have a very distorted idea of what I when I look in the mirror. I like don't like see like what is really there. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that like sometimes when I've been really like food denial, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that was like an attempt to somehow shed fat that was that was portioned into feminine like areas, as opposed to like using other tools to handle that, like clothing or medical blah blah, or I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing whatever you want to do to try to achieve like a way that you want to look. But I think that the methods that you go about that can be super disordered and like not healthy, and like that was one of those places where it's like, okay, it's fine to like want to look a certain way, you know.
Right.
I don't want to be super skinny. I would prefer to be muscular. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in order to do that, like I could either take a bunch of steroids, which is probably not helpful, or I could like go to the gym. Do you know what I mean? Like there's ways that you can like do what you want to do to be the way that you look the way that you want to look.
Right.
But
I mean,
you
there are
know,
also like things that because there are also messages we receive at a really young age that like influence these things, and I feel like I'm thinking about how, I don't know what show it was, but like when I was a youth, I was watching some show, and they were some like young girl was in puberty, and she was like, I want my chest to get bigger. Like, what do I do to like fix it? And people were like, eat this and do this exercise and like do these things. And it's like, why can't someone just be like, here's the deal. They're either gonna get bigger or they're not. Like, don't really know what to tell you. And if you grow up and still want to do something about that, well, there are certainly some things you can do, like as an adult. As opposed to, I don't know, like telling lies or like, because there's a difference between like, oh, haha, it's just like a wise tale type thing, and then genuinely being like, no, like this is a widespread thing. Like I know people outside of the US who were told some of these things.
Yeah.
Like what's the deal? Um and so yeah, no, that definitely is like, I don't want to say these things are gendered, but they have gendered attributes. Because I feel like masculine cis mask folks receive certain messages as well, but they're way different and they obviously internalize them way differently. Like, and I don't mean in the sense of like, you fucking dudes always try to make the argument that like, why can't we have preferences, but like females can have preferences, females. And it's like, well, it's not that you can't have preferences, but your preferences are not the same. Like, or like they don't function the same way, where it's like, guys will be like, I want my impossible standards met by every single girl I date. With you know what I mean? They're like, I don't, if I date someone and I find someone better, that means I settled and I have to go for the better girl.
I
But like with, or like I just feel like I think I'm also taught. I'm working within a very cis hetero mind like framework right now.
yeah.
Like it's women who tend to settle, and they make more exceptions for appearance, and like they make way more exceptions for personality, clearly, because men are trash. Um, and like
Men are trash, but they're so pretty.
right, and so that's the thing is like I feel like it's easier. Like it's just so much easier for women to be like these I accept these things as beauty, because women are taught that beauty is important, whereas
Mm-hmm.
men are taught that women need to be beautiful and that is important.
Interesting.
Does that make sense? And
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
like, yeah. So like I had a point, but I just lost it. But I think I got there. I got there somehow, a little
We
bit.
went
Someone
some. I
will draw
think
their own conclusion and it'll make sense to them. And that's fine with me.
we definitely went somewhere. That's for sure.
Yes.
I have to go next door to get my. I forgot that I have to inject, so I'm just gonna do that like down here where you can't see me. But
Okay.
the next time you talk, I'm just gonna walk next door. But I can still hear you.
Okay.
I just want to let you know.
Cool.
Um, it's interesting because I think like something because I also know like I remember being like I also know a lot of women, straight women who have an idea of what a beauty standard they want their men to fulfill also, and I think about that they're not the same. They're not the same thing, but I am seeing like I don't know. I was just talking last night with someone about crushes, basically,
Mm-hmm.
but we were kind of really talking about when you are actually relating to a person versus when you're relating to your projection of a person. And
Yeah.
there's a kind of this way that like if you look through your lens and you're like, I only date people with a six pack, then you like have your little six pack lens on and you're like, and then suddenly you meet someone with a six pack and you're like, oh my God, it's meant to be, but it's not meant to be. There's just, you're encountering a physical very, very narrow physical manifestation of a imaginary reality, but you're still operating in your imaginary reality with this physical manifestation. And you're
Right.
also not, because you're not interacting with a human.
Hmm.
You're interacting with an object that like you've deemed beautiful or desirable or a straight up like a requirement. You know what I mean? Like this person isn't even human or isn't even lovable unless they have this object quality, you know? And the object
Right.
could be anything. Like, I don't know, just I remember being in middle school and like six packs were important. Six pack, which also now that I'm older and say those words, I'm like, that's a really embarrassing phrase. I don't know why. Like, it feels very like outdated or something. I'm like, who says this term anymore?
It feels very silly to me because even back then I was like, why? Like, I just
I'm
always
listening.
associate six pack with alcohol, and but people who drink like that always have a beer belly or whatever. So I was like, why are you calling it the exact opposite of what it should be called? But yeah, that's like, how do I want to put my thoughts together? Um, yeah, that I think is like the, I don't want to call it a problem. That is one of my things with just like societal norms how they are now and monogamy is that that is like a suitable, it like people just find that a suitable way to like pursue a partner, I guess, with, but they're operating under the societal monogamy standards of like, you someone, you get engaged, you get married, you have a baby. So like that's where all these weird things come in of like, if you're with someone and like you're dating but it's not serious, like what does that mean, and like where are you going, and blah blah blah, and then there's like, it gives people room to like, no, I don't know what I was saying. I'll just go back to the thing. So, yeah, like they totally just look at people like with this lens on of whatever they want, and then when that thing is no longer there or they no longer care about it, they're like now in this relationship if they pursue that person that like means nothing because they based it on like a temporary thing. Because that's like, beauty is always changing and beauty is temporary.
That's what makes it beautiful. To
Right, but
me,
then
that's like,
why have a standard? Like that's what I don't understand is why have a standard of beauty if that's constantly going to shift? And why is it constantly shifting but still not including like a majority of people?
yes.
Like why is that a thing?
I also think about beauty and the things that you find attractive about people that you want to get in a relationship with as being less of objects or qualities that you can kind of. Okay, like I was watching this Japanese drama one time, and this one person asked this other person like, "Oh, did you meet this guy's like brother or cousin or whatever?" And the person was like, "Yeah," and the person was like, "Oh, like what was he like?" And the character like I was very struck by this because I feel like in the U.S. in the English language, if someone were to ask you like, "Oh, what was this person like?" You'd use a lot of adjectives. You're like, "Oh, they're nice. Oh, they like blah blah blah." But the way that this person described this character described this relative or this person's relative in the drama was she was just describing all of the things that he does. Like, oh, he walks this way. He treats people like this. When the cashier says blah blah blah, this is the way he answers. And I feel like if people based beauty around what people do, and people base their relationships based on what people do rather than how they look, like if you
Yeah.
went around and instead you were like, instead of being like, oh, like only abs, instead you were like, I want to do this thing. Who wants to do that thing with me? And then
Yeah.
if you know, and then it's like if you want to have kids, for instance, you'd
Mm-hmm.
be like, okay, I want a partner who also wants to have kids, or if I want to exercise a lot or I want to blah 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 blah, then I want to be with someone who either wants to do that with me or like doesn't have a problem with me doing that. I mean, I think it's very clear, but I think people really overlook that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know I've like totally overlooked in the past, like if I want to do this thing, but my partner doesn't want me to do it, will I actually still continue to do it? Because
Mhm.
I think it's actually really important to have someone who is supportive of me living my life, and I would like to be supportive of someone who I theoretically like, romantically involved in, by like
Mhm.
supporting them doing their life rather than fulfilling my projection of who I wish they were.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah. Wow, that makes so much more sense. I was talking to my sister who's getting married in the
Ooh,
Catholic Church.
ooh,
Yeah, and was
that's a
telling me
choice.
about like the pre-marriage stuff that they do.
Yeah.
Um, and how like it definitely is like probably mostly for like the young 20 somethings who are like we want to get married so we can bang. So like let's do that. And it's basically like just thing. It's like you talk to the priest and like he asks questions and then you just like it's kind of like getting to know each other in the context of like marriage.
Wow.
The questions are like how would you deal with a fight, or like how would like if one person wants to do this and the other doesn't, like how are you gonna deal with that, and like you know what do you have the same beliefs and things like that. And I obviously we laughed about it because it feels like obviously if you're seeing someone for a long time and you intend to marry them like that, like you would talk about these things, but a lot of people don't,
Yeah.
apparently, I guess. Which then like makes me curious. It makes me wonder what people think marriage is, or think relationship or attraction even is. Like, just because you're like, attraction isn't a sign that you must pursue. Just like pursuing someone isn't a sign that you are required to like do that. Like just because you choose to pursue someone doesn't mean that it's going to work out.
Yes.
And if it doesn't work out, like what do you do? If it does work out, like what are you actually hoping for? Not like what is your end game, but what are you hoping for out of a relationship? Is that what your relationship looks like?
I
Like,
think,
are
yeah.
you attracted to your own relationship? I wish I had asked myself that because I wish I'd asked myself that when I was in a relationship, because like on the outside to other people, I guess it looked really nice and it was nice like for a time. But when I looked at it, I always was like, yeah, it's nice, but like here there were always things that like didn't quite sit right with me, but it wasn't something that seemed outside of the norm of a relationship. Like when the narrative is like in a relationship you make like sacrifices and compromises and like blah 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 and love is hard and stuff like that, like that's all true, but there also is an inherent feeling of like being out of yourself that you should never feel when you're in a relationship.
Uh, I feel like a lot of relationships in the US, I mean, I don't know why I say in the US. I just only have that perspective, I guess.
Yeah.
But I also just want to be specific. I don't want to say relationships everywhere because I don't really have experience everywhere. But I feel like
Mm-hmm.
relationships growing up in the US um, are really codependent because, okay, first of all, this actually links into eating disorders. um, in like Chinese medicine, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
like, for instance, I mean, one understanding of eating of disordered eating is it's like a stomach issue. It's like a stomach meridian issue where it's a rejection of receiving nourishment.
Mm-hmm.
And this is usually linked to like to put it bluntly, like mommy issues or like any type of rejection of nourishment. Like if you were abandoned as a child, you might
Okay.
experience a rejection of nourishment or over indulging in nourishment because of a lack of it or like whatever. And this is like all related to like kind of the stomach who goes out and gets the food, who like goes out and like gets the nourishment, and also has a lot to do with like feeling valuable and feeling worthy and like feeling like being able to put your front forward honestly and not like put on a front or whatever. And so, wait, how did I get here? What was I talking about? Oh, in relationships and codependency. I feel like a lot of people in the US, first of all, I feel like the US just has like terrible like family situations. Like it's a very young country. There is honestly, it's only a couple hundred years old, like
Right.
as a as called the United States and what that means in like a global scale.
Hmm.
There isn't there isn't really like a US culture. Like there isn't like a lot of like,
Right.
US rituals that people agree on or and it's a very massive country and stuff. But I think that's something that like a cause of being a really young country is that like I don't think there's anyone in this country who hasn't in the past, some hundred years been um, displaced and separated from family. There's like not really like there's not really like a strong like sort of like there's a kind of like a fractured lineage in just by cause of I don't know the terminology to be living in the U.S. And I think that makes people's relationship to food and people very weird. Food, kind of like the way I described it, just like needing restriction because of having an abundance and not
Hmm.
knowing how to make choices or like rejecting craving, like kind of dealing with that. But I think it also like just creates like such a weird relationship to people because I feel like the bottom line in the United States is kind of like about like freedom, which my interpretation is that most Americans when they think freedom are actually thinking freedom from responsibility, which means that when
Yes.
people engage in relationships and they feel like they want someone else to take responsibility for them, it's
Hmm.
really okay. I'm on a rant now. It's really like internalizing fascism.
No, I was literally okay. We're like on the same. I'm along for the ride.
Okay, so I'm reading this book. I can go get it if I, but it's called. Okay, I haven't read it in a while, but the beginning it's called Anti-Oedipus,
Hmm.
something something in the Age of Capitalism, I think, and it's by Deleuze and Guattari.
It looks bad. Oh my god. Hold on a second.
Oh, it's fine. It's just a pile. My pile's over here, and
No, but
like
it's
over
like
there.
I just realized it. But that one pile is like straight up a pile of trash, and but
Yeah.
the other thing is was seen. If it was seen, I won't say it if it wasn't. But it's pretty. It says a lot about my character at this point in time. Continue.
That's great. Well, I think that people get in relationships to play out their fantasies in general. And some people's fantasies is like I want to feel helpless. I want to feel no responsibility for myself. I want someone to entirely take care of me and be responsible for me. And I can blame them when anything goes wrong because I don't want to take any responsibility for myself because I don't want to fail because, well, and like that's like a whole like kind of like experience you can have with someone and be like, I want, but people aren't really, if people were honest about this, then I might be able to be down with it. I'd be like, oh, okay, like you want to play out your fantasy and I'm probably not the person to play out that fantasy with you, you
Yeah.
know? Or like, okay, knowing this fantasy, maybe we can like be a little bit more. But people aren't really. I don't think people really are. Oh, I don't think a lot. I think it's very hard to be very aware of like what the real fantasy we're trying to play out is. You know what I mean? And I think there's also this fantasy of like, I want to be in control. I want to be in power. I want to be the one who makes decisions. I want to be the one who is always kind of like determining space and how people interact with each other. I want to, the people are just like always like playing out their like little fantasies with each other. And I think if you're not aware of that, it just can be so easily like just like codependency, weird stuff. Like I don't want to say Freudian and like childhood blah blah, but just like from your whole experience of life, like um, this orange is really not suiting me. I'm gonna go put this on,
Okay.
but I'm gonna be right. I'm just behind.
Okay.
I'm just behind here, you know.
Yeah. No. So like when you. So I wanna. I'm like trying to write notes so I can collect my thoughts so I don't forget things.
Oh, nice.
Um.
You can also
I was
type them in
totally.
the chat.
I was totally writing that thought of. Um.
Oh wait, I have a blue thing.
Like broken lineage.
Yeah.
Where was I going with that? Um. how, like, yes, this country, we're a baby country. Like, there isn't really a culture, but also a lot of the culture is like deeply rooted chaos and violence and like power and control in a toxic relationship kind of sense. Um, and like something I'm just now noticing, I guess, or like you said something and it kind of put things in a perspective of like for so long, like white colonizers have been terrorizing people. So like of course they especially like of course that is now showing up or probably was showing up like even earlier in their own patterns of behavior because if for so long you deny the people around you that you're fucking killing like if you have a history of like denying natives and denying slaves and denying like witches or whoever like anyone that was outside of your bubble of purity and also to remain within that bubble of purity you yourself have to deny yourself several things like you were saying um like of course any other framework you try to then structure if you haven't unlearned these things is going to hold those within its foundations. So yeah, like I think a lot of fad diets and things like that are definitely disordered eating in disguise. And like simply because of how the nation is structured, like it's really not as simple as eating when you're hungry because some people cannot eat when they're hungry. Some people no longer understand the signals of hunger because they've been ignored for so long or because whatever is happening. And like to 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 like eat until you're full sometimes isn't possible, but also like if you don't know what full is or if you don't feel satisfied, like if full doesn't equal satisfied, it's a lot easier to then become someone who overeats or like if you're investing emotionally in that or not investing but like if there's an emotion behind it that you're investing in as opposed to the actual hunger like and you eat until the emotion is satisfied then that like obviously isn't healthy. So like these are all just learned practices and like obviously I don't remember a lot about history because it was all white people and I literally didn't give a fuck. Like I don't know what else to say. But whatever was going on in Europe before they started killing people worldwide, like they were dead ass terrible at taking care of themselves also. Like for the longest. So there's also that is like the people who colonized the country we now call the United States were also trash at taking care of themselves. So like just like white supremacy is how do I want to say this? White people are unhealthy. Like white people, and it just like that's just how I feel because it's like I don't know when I think of things that have been categorized as like not necessarily unhealthy, but like or just unhealthy, but undesirable. It's not necessarily things that actually pertain to health. Like
Yes.
like with fat phobia, like sure obesity is a problem, but that is a problem that can't be solved by bullying people like through ads or whatever. But also it's like you have to acknowledge that certain people like that's just their constitution. And like depending on where they're from or what their heritage may be, sometimes they're just gonna fucking be big. and that's okay. And in a lot of, no, I don't want to be like in a lot of places, but like there are places where like that's a sign of health and wealth, is like being a large person. So who are you to say that like someone is unhealthy because they could be doing all the things to make themselves feel good and healthy, but like you're just judging them based on your perceived whatever, which could also be unhealthy. Like, and it probably is. The other thing is like the standard of health in the US is fucking fake. Like, it's super fake and made up, and just like, no, I don't think people in the US actually know or understand what health is, like in any way. Be it themselves or relationships.
Yes. Yes. There's so many moments when you were speaking where I was like,
Yeah.
um,
Damn,
I,
fucking white people ruining everything. Oh, it censors me in the chat, in the captions. That's so nice.
oh yeah, it does. At first I was like, oh my God, is it censoring white people ruin everything? Because that would be a problem. Um, I think that I would, so like I'm thinking historically, or I don't know about if it's historically, but I think about the way that white people have positioned themselves in their own narrative that over time that has positioned them that like gives them the us the idea that like of like superiority. And some of the things I think of is like this association with the mind, this association with like whiteness, you know. There's also like there is like, I don't know if this is more recent or not, but there is like a thin quality, like a thin, almost delicate quality. I mean, it's I guess the feminizing way is kind of a thin, delicate quality. Whereas like maybe more masculine side is like really wide. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Broad.
broad, yeah, yeah, that's the word, like a breadth, a broadness, or whatever. And also kind of a cold demeanor. But all of these things, like cold and tight and white, like really fair, not in a natural way, but in an unnatural, like I don't see the sun. All of these feel like actually unhealthy qualities. You know, it's like when you're saying like white is unhealthy, like yeah, like spending time in your mind and being kind of like, I don't know, like I feel like there's like a lot of evidence to support that you could, you know, like create like a little thesis. Not you, just people. And
No, but I also could. I probably should. I have
yeah,
like side topic. I have been like, damn, I enjoy the structure of a class. Maybe I should go back to school, but like then I think deeper into it, and it is such a bad idea. But I would
well,
write a thesis just for fun. How long is a thesis?
well, it depends.
If I don't get graded on it, I'll do it.
Probably like 20 pages. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you just write articles. Articles are like the
I
new,
just like
right?
write a long paper and cry for 4 years, and it counts.
Hmm. I say you should only really go to school if you know why you're going to school. You're like, I'm going to school in order to obtain this information or this degree or these skills in order to apply there. But the minute that you forget why you're in school, it's over. Like if you're just going to school because you're like, I'm supposed to go to school, or like daddy wanted me to go to school or whatever. Sorry. Like it's just gonna be a waste. Like I think you really have to, it's like you can't go to school and expect school to make something happen for you. Like you have to know that you're using school to make something happen for yourself in your own life. And so like school could be fun for you as long as you don't like think that that's gonna be your life, you know.
Mm.
But wait, there's something else that you're, oh my God, the other thing you're talking about like, first of all, I think it's totally the mindset is what's unhealthy. And like when you were talking about the problems of obesity in the country, like that, those problems are not, I don't think those are, I don't think the problem is individual. Like I think that problem is an institutional problem of like food, like access to food.
Yes.
I think it's a access to food issue. And so then the mindset that, or what's actually like being being cultivated that's unhealthy, like the unhealthy cultivation, like you got a little plot of weeds and you keep watering them, and those weeds are like this mindset that people are a problem, you
Yeah.
know, or like
Yeah.
homeless people are their own problem, for instance, rather than like what are the conditions that are leading to homelessness, like what are the conditions that are leading to obesity, what are the conditions that are leading to, and also like, yeah, weight is such a very weird thing to me. Like, okay, so I knew someone in high school who was like a 5'8" and like
Mm.
very lean and like extremely defined muscular person who weighed 180 pounds. And I don't really know how to conceive of weight. But in this
Mm.
moment, I learned a lot because this person was like, it looked like no fat on this person's body. You know what I mean? Because
Mm.
they just have big, gigantic muscles. And so, like, weight, like, they were probably in a high BMI or whatever. Like, I feel like BMI is what's used for obesity. But, like,
Yeah, but
this
BMI,
person, that, yeah,
BMI doesn't mean anything.
yes. And that's like when I was like, wait. But the thing that really blew me away was that this person had such a hard time. Like they were like a sprinter. They had like a sprinter background. So they had like massive thighs and like super muscular there. And they looked
Yeah.
really defined because they didn't have a lot of like fat on their body. But they could not
Mm.
do a push up, even though you could clearly see that they had like muscles. They were not muscles that were trained and conditioned to do push ups. And so
Mm.
there's this like very strange way where like there's a like that was like a moment for me, I think, in my past where I was like, what your body looks like and what it's able to do are not the same thing. And like
Yes.
if you think, do you know what I'm saying?
Hey,
It has
yes,
nothing
no,
to do
that's
with
like
weight.
so important.
Yeah. I'm way more
You
interested
want
in
to
what I
just
can
say it
do with my
again.
body. Oh, should I say it
Say it one
again?
more time. Yeah,
What your
louder for
body
the folks
looks
in the back.
like, what your body looks like and what you can do with it are not the same thing. And what your body looks like does not mean you can do a certain thing with it. And looking a certain way doesn't mean you can't do certain things with it.
Yes.
Like if you want to do something, do it every day and then you can do it. You don't have to have a background of like powerlifting in order to like be good at like doing one certain thing.
Mhm.
There's this thing, maybe I'll find. Okay, so something people do for strength training is carrying. So they'll like carry like really heavy, like, if you're training like kettlebells or whatever, and just carry and walk. And that's like a strength training thing for like there's a whole situation happening. And I don't know the video, I'll try to find it. But there are these two guys, I think it's two guys who are very known for this type of workout. And they go to a very remote place where where the women there daily will fill up their baskets with a certain type of, I can't remember what it was. I don't know if it was a fruit or a vegetable, or whatever. Something that I imagine in my head as being round. And they fill their baskets and carry the baskets like from place to place. And these
Mhm.
guys go to visit, and they cannot keep up with the women who are doing this
Yeah,
because this is what
because
they
it's not
do.
something
This
they
is what you do
do.
every day. Like, yeah, like your body does what you condition it to be able to do. And so if you condition it to have
Mhm.
a mindset that people are bringing like unhealthy decisions upon themselves, like maybe
Right.
your mindset is the problem, is the unhealthy like condition. I should probably learn
Right.
from that. But there's a little rant.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's all things, just like all things tie back into fucking like fascism and white supremacy and white people ruining the world. So like
Oh yeah, I wanted to say something about that too.
round just understand that probably any episode will just round back to that point.
I think that's what this show is actually called.
This show is actually just a reminder that everything is white supremacy's fault.
Yeah.
Everything's
But
bad.
yeah, I don't think I can
And
argue with
most
that.
good things have happened in spite of it. That's
Mm-mm,
genuinely how I feel.
mm-mm. I do have some historical context. So before you were talking about, I don't know what white people were doing before they were basically colonizing the Americas, for instance, and a lot of
I
the
mean,
other,
colonizing, like, in general, they went everywhere.
they did go everywhere. I feel like a lot of that was started what after the 1400s. I don't actually know, but I think like a lot of European colonization in my mind happens like after like what something is between like in like the 1100s and then there's the 1400s And then I think like a lot of colonization is happening on the 1400s and on.
Mm-hmm.
But some research that I've done is on, I think it's okay. Is this the right terminology? I don't know if this is the right terminology. But before all of the colonization situation, there was there was there was like this rise to power of the Visigoths, right? Does this word like ring a bell in like your young history life or something? Okay, it
No,
kind of does for me, but I don't know what it means. But my understanding is that there were people coming down from Finland area, very cold, and coming down south, and basically putting their people into power all over Europe, like coming down and kind of like sacking like places, or buying a bunch of land, and just I don't know if violence was the method of power taking, but over centuries, and I've like traced this in lineages, that like that the lineage is just like royalty in all of these different countries, like in a row, like in a physical row, like coming down
oh,
like from Finland. And
okay.
it's those people who like
Relief.
are in power for centuries, and then they're the ones who like are involved in like the colonization of like the Americas.
Okay.
And so I feel like I don't really know European history. I didn't really learn a lot about European history. I didn't really learn a lot about like the presidents of the United States. I had a very, very specific education that like wasn't the most broad, but when I started but I did look into this a little bit recently, and I think that, so I don't really know what was happening in Europe. I don't really know, but I have this feeling that like this seems to me like it's tracing white supremacy. And I'm not saying Finland is the cause of white supremacy, because where did people come from? How did people get to Finland? Like, what is happening? But I
Mm-hmm.
but I wonder about like what it's like to live somewhere that is what happened, that keep that was the urge to make people go out and try to make something their own, to go
Right.
colonize, to go take over, to go infiltrate someone else and try to rise to power in that. Like, was it a scarcity issue? Was it a cold issue? Like, what was happening, and how are we because I feel like people are keeping doing that for
Right.
centuries and centuries and centuries. Whatever that thing was, that was kind of the initiative to colonize and to give
Mm-hmm.
people the idea that they could do that, and then that was like somehow justifiable or okay. Like, I think
Mm-hmm.
it predates Christianity. I'm not positive, but I don't think it's religion's fault. I don't think it's political fault. I think it's
Yeah.
like I think it's a human thing, but 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 somehow the conditions of that human experience conditioned them to think that it was okay to do. Like, to
Mm-hmm.
think it's okay to go like,
Well, right,
oh,
because
let's
like,
just go south and like take over people's land. Like,
right,
I don't know if that's a
like,
totally human thing.
well, like, because obviously I feel like, sure, being territorial is like a human thing, and so I understand like fights for territory, but like, I feel I like, and maybe this is just the way I was taught history. Like when you said you were taught very like I feel like everyone is taught a very specific sort of history, because like it depends on where you are, who your teacher is, like what resources you have access to, stuff like that. So like to me, and how I took in what I learned in public school was that like it felt, here's how it felt, is that even though there were different tribes and groups of people and they would fight, it wasn't like there was a group trying to take over like a majority. And then all of a sudden, in like the 13 or 1400s, Europe was just like, you know what, let's fuck shit up. Let's just like take over the world. But it was taught as like, we went exploring. We went exploring and like explored, like the spice trade was like so cool. But like there's no acknowledgement that like there were trades happening already all over the world. Like the ice bridge had come and gone by that point. Like, so what was it, or like who? because like people will say the Vikings, or like, and you're saying this thing with Finland, but like what?
Oh yeah, was it the Vikings? I
It's
think it
like
was
I want
Finland.
to know like where the initial thought of like I want to own like all of it. I want all of it.
That's what I want to know too. Like,
And
what
what
was
was
that?
all of it at the time?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because that means if someone was like, wow, I have all of it, someone took that over and was like, no, there's more somewhere. Like, there's more of this somewhere, and I want that too.
That's the thing where I think it's not human. I don't know. So we're kind of talking about like human nature a little bit, and I just have my ideas or what I wish the world were like for me.
I just want to say
Oh,
that
sorry,
I
sorry.
feel like it is human. No. It's just because you said part of that feels not human. I think that is the extremely human part of it. I think the rest of it is animal. I think the rest of it is animal, and the part that makes it human is that we have the ability to turn wanting territory into wanting to own everything. It's not
'Cause-
about having our stuff for our whatever. It's about ruining it for everyone else.
yeah, I think because okay. I think because okay. This is my thesis. This is my
Okay, hold
hypothesis.
on. When do you have to go?
Oh, I have to go in 25 minutes or
Okay, great.
35 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
No, I have to go in like 5 minutes.
Okay, less great, but glad I said something.
Thank you. I have to go in 5. I totally like forgot how to work time.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll say this, and I say this hypothesis. A lot of things I say, sometimes I believe them, and sometimes I just believe them in this moment, and I'm willing to be convinced. You know what I mean? I want
Yeah.
to put them out there in order to
I always
play
would
with them.
desire to learn. Yes, I desire
Yeah.
to play with my knowledge and information and add to it.
Yes. Yes. Very well. Very
Yes.
well. Um, I think that there's a part of me that thinks I don't know if humans are naturally territorial, or if they are, that I almost see a nuance between the being territorial, where the action of territorialness is guardianship, and where the action of territorialship is ownership. Because the way I think
Yeah.
that, okay, I could see humans being territorial, but there being a divergence of people being like, whoa, 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 we take care of this land. So like
Mm-hmm.
we don't need you taking care of the land because we know this land and we like this is how we like work with it and like do this sort of situation. That doesn't
Yeah.
imply a type of like, oh no, we own it. See, we own it. We can do whatever we want with it, which I feel like is a very
Right.
different feeling. And I don't know if ownership of land is inherently human, but I do think there's some type of territorial, like this is how we relate to our environment. I just feel like environment is very important to like language and culture. I don't know what that means, but like the rituals of life that you create are very much have to do with like,
What's
is it,
around you?
yeah, like does it snow here? Like that's gonna change your
Right.
ritual of like living there.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, what you said, like, uh, guardianship versus ownership is definitely like a big thing. But I feel like, because, like, native folks have, like, are that. They were, like, or they claim that space of, like, we are, like, the stewards of the land. We talk to the land and the land talks back. And, like, that's how you respect the land by, like, you ask before you take things. You work with it. Like, you know it and it knows you. And that is, like, yeah, I mean, like that feels healthy, and that feels like an actual partnership in which one could like live and cohabitate if everyone else around respects that and is also practicing under that, because that is like that also shows just like a baseline of respect. And if you know how to interact with the earth, then you should know also how to interact with a person. If you know how to ask permission from the earth, then you should also know how to ask permission from a person. So like, when did that stop being part of our like of people?
I totally agree. I think about this when you read stuff too. Like in order to read like a text, how you
Mhm.
want to interact with that text and read it and listen to it or not listen to it is kind of like good practice for dealing with humans sometimes. Like this text has a lot
Yeah.
of stuff that I don't like in it, so how am I going to read it? But I think also about like what you're saying and thinking. So I'm trying to imagine a life where I have a relationship to the land and everyone that I live with is kind of like, oh yeah, the land, yeah, yeah, we're like we relate. We're all in relation to this, and
Mhm.
thinking, is ownership something that happened kind of where you would go away from th th does ownership require a type of like division? I don't know how to explain what I'm saying, but I'm kind of trying to walk through a life and thinking, okay, here's my land, or here's the land that I know, my relative kind of, like I have a
Right.
relationship to this land. And then ownership, I kind of imagine someone being like, okay, I'm gonna like go over to this other place with this land that's unfamiliar. I don't know it. Maybe I can try to own it. But there's not a feeling of ownership of this land. But I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly, but I wonder if there's like a kind of division of like um, mine and yours,
Mhm.
like guardianship and ownership, like that ownership kind of requires a division of I don't know. I guess I'm not being very
It's
profound. Ownership
it's like it's a
requires
bit more
division of yours.
impersonal.
Yeah, that ownership didn't start with owning your own stuff. It started with owning other people's stuff. But there wasn't necessarily
Oh,
an inference of,
yeah.
oh, I own this stuff. It was like, oh, I want to own that over there. Do you know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Mhm. Like maybe it wasn't originally a feeling of ownership or desire. Like ownership comes out of greed
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
because you desire something that someone else has, even though you already have your own stuff. So it comes less about your relationship with the thing and more about your relationship of power over the person who has the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we stop there so you can
I
go
guess
with
we
your
should
stuff?
stop there because I feel like I need my mind to like
I feel like I
incorporate that.
just saw the like little animated soul like leave your body, even though it wasn't one of those moments. But the way you sighed, I saw like an effect.
Yeah, no, it really had an effect. I'm gonna spend the next like 5 years of my life trying to understand what you just said. You know what I mean?
It's funny because sometimes I feel like we talk and we say things, and like for us, it really affects us very profoundly. But like, sometimes I just get this feeling that someone out there is gonna see this and be like, "Yeah, and so said that like 8 million years ago. Like, you're
Oh, they
so late to the
definitely
party,
did.
right?"
I
And I'm
think,
like, "What do you want from me?" Like, language has been around for so long, for longer than I've existed.
yeah. I think also what's
We have AI making scripts out of nothing now.
yeah, and
It's
re and
original.
I think also like what's beneficial, what could be beneficial about us interacting is not that we're saying anything that is maybe particularly. It's not that it's new in the scheme of the world, but
Right.
it might be new. It might be new to us, or it might be new to someone else, or a different way
Right.
of explaining it, or it might be
Mhm.
so rejected. Like something we say could just challenge anyone else's framework so intensely that it's going to be something to chew on. I think that's like the goal of like. But yeah, I mean, totally. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, like this thought, and then I'm like, wait. Other people have like learned, like already known what I'm, what I think is like
But it's like
new.
if this is like the block of information, everyone else has already taken their bites. That meant that this bite was meant for me, and now I'm going to have it.
Ah, wow. Well, think this has been Scylla and Shown talk about
Just
stuff.
talking about stuff.
Talk about
Ah,
stuff.
ah, ah.
Oh yeah, I forgot
Yeah,
my little. I took off my hoodie, so now I can't do the four anymore.
that's okay. I'll do it. Hey, mine's not gonna stay. It's not as good.
But well, all right. I'll end there.
Right. Cool.